All right. Dave Call here to help you make some sweet fruit. Here we have an image of the fruit, and we're going to make this with Maya 2011 with a few fun things to work with. Now, 2011, keep in mind that it is a dark gray background, so we'll start that way. First, I want to set the project. So you may or may not need to do this, but I'm going to go to Project Set. And what I'm looking for is my Maya Fruit project, and I'll set that so that when I come time to use the shaders and the textures, we can find them. But anyway, let's get started with some fruit. I'm going to go to create an apple first, create NURBS primitive sphere. I'll pull this up. There's a fine looking apple. I'm using Alt to twist around. I'll hit W and pull the green arrow to pull it up. Right now, if I hit Control A, it goes from object mode, and if I hit F8, that goes from object mode to component mode. If I grab this, like a select drag it, I pull that down, and I hit 5, we have a apple shape. To make it less organic or more organic, I'm going to pull some shapes here, pull it down here, so it looks a little bit more organic. So there we have an apple. If I hit R, I can then scale it down like this. So there's our apple. Now I can make a banana the same way. So I'm going to go to Create NURBS Primitive Sphere. Make sure it's a NURBS. And we have this over here. I'm then going to scale it up, hit the R key, scale up like this. And I will then make a basic shape by hitting F8. Now, if there's not enough points on here, you can add more, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and make a basic shape here. Not too much of a high quality banana, but it'll work. All right, let me pull this down. So forge your banana. Pull this up here. That is a terrible banana. So let me show you how you can fix that. Delete this and go to Create NURBS Primitive Sphere. Now what we can do, if I do Control A, we have Make NURBS Sphere 2, and I want to turn the spans up to 12, and then I have more room to work on the banana shape. So if I hit F8, I can then take a few points, scale those down in here, pull this one up here, pull this one up. So we're kind of forging the shape of the banana. Scale this down. For the harder edge for the banana, I'm going to pull this up. Scale that down here. So we basically have a banana shape that we can work with. Let me fix the top up here. Grab this, scale that. So, as you can see, I'm shaping this. I've hit F8 to shape the banana. That's back into component mode. I can pull this out. Pull this out a little more here. I can twist this. And twist some of this. So then we have a generic banana shape. Looking pretty good. So, banana apple. Now let's put some textures on these. I'm going to hold down spacebar, which gives you the complete menu system, and then hold down the left mouse and click on top. See, I'm clicking on top here. Then I go to Hypershade Render Perspective. And what we have here are 3 default shaders. You want to leave these alone. And I'm just going to go ahead and create blend shaders, which have specularity, and we can make everything based on a blend. So the first one, I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to rename this thing Apple, and I'm going to drag this with a middle mouse button onto the apple. So you see it becomes shiny, but there's no file texture on this. So over here under color, I'm going to click on the checker pattern, click on file, and then go find it under source images, and I'll get the apple texture. Now, that's already dragged on, so remember 4 is wireframe, 5 is shaded, 6 is textured. So that's looking okay. However, we have to rotate it, the shader. To get this whole shader network set up, I want to hit the right mouse button on the Apple shader and graph the network. Here we need to adjust the 2D texture, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and there's our nice apple shape. Now let me do the same with a banana. Click on Blend. I'll call this one Banana. I'll double click and grab another file. Then we'll grab the banana tile shader. Drag with the middle mouse button down onto here. Now I can hit E and rotate this. That'll rotate on one axis, pull that down here. So we have both an apple and a banana. You could paint the shader a little bit better in Photoshop. Now, I want to put a leaf on this apple to make it more highly detailed. I'm going to create NURBS primitive sphere, and I will scale this in, and I will start to make a leaf shader. Hit F8. Pull this out here. Maybe give this whole thing a twist. Okay, there's a basic shape on it. I'm going to pull that down. So we now have a, make sure a little deeper leaf. There's a leaf. Let me extend that a little higher. Okay, leaf on the apple. Now I'm going to hold down spacebar, click on top again, and go to Hypershade Render Perspective. Make another blend, and this will call it leaf. And I'll make the color, just click on the color palette here and make it a green. Then middle mouse button, drag onto here. Make sure I get that on there. So now I have a green leaf on it. I can take that, Control D to duplicate it, pull that on the other side. And then say I want to put this together, so I have to grab all of it and do Control G. That will group it. Now what that does, if you go to the outliner, which is over here, you can see that we have this group. I'll call it, let me double click it here, called Apple All. And then underneath, if you open up the panel here, we have NURBS Sphere 1, 3, and 4. So we have the 3 NURBS surfaces. Now, if I click on Apple All, I can move the whole thing. But if I just click on the apple, it only moves part of it. So I either have to click here, or just click on the apple or the leaf and hit the up arrow, and that will pick the whole thing. So that is making an apple. You can do an orange the same way. I now want to go to 4 views, and I want to make the plate. Plate's a little sassier, and that's going to be with a revolve. This is the y-axis here. These 3 are orthogonal views, so the front or the side will work fine. So now I'm going to go to Create, CV Curve Tool, click on the axes right here, and hold down Shift so you can keep it straight. Then I'm going to pull up and make a shape down here. So imagine this thing getting revolved around a lathe. So this will go this way here. So to do that, let me scale this down a little bit. I go to Surfaces, Revolve. So I hit the, hold down spacebar, I go to Surfaces, Revolve. And here we have our plate, looking pretty nice. Fruits are on top of it. Let me scale this banana up a bit. Now we need to add a texture to the plate. That's a little trickier, but not too bad. First thing I want to do is select the fruit. And if I do Control A, I have the display layers here. So if I hold down layers, I can go to Create Layer from Selected. Then I can make this invisible. So that is a good start. Now if I hold down spacebar, click up on top here, go to Hypershade Render Perspective. Let's go ahead and make another blend for the fruit plate. I'll call this plate, and I will drag that onto here. Now here is not just dragging it on. We will need to do a projection. So what we're going to do, I'm going to click on the checkerboard pattern next to color, and then I want to go to Utilities right here and scroll down in alphabetical order, look for a projection. So now that it turns black, we need to add an image to the projection. So I'm going to click on here and scroll back up, We're going to get the file like we did before. And for the image name of the file, I'm going to get the plate texture. So this may look like it's on there, but if I render this over here with a clapper, this is obviously not right. So what you want to do is hit the right mouse button, go to Graph Network on here, and I want to add an interactive placement icon. So I'm going to click on interactive placement, create a placement node, and this 3D place texture, I want to rotate it 90 degrees, and then, let me tap the space bar, get in, I want to grab one of these blue corners and pull this out so that it is generally, let me scale it out here, generally as big as the plate itself. So try that. All right, let's give this a render. All right, that's a good looking plate there. I like that. Now, if I were to zoom in on this plate and I render this, we have a thing called tessellation. Right now, you're looking at a lack of tessellation. You see there's these angular areas. Now, if I click on this and go to Revolve Surface Shape, under tessellation, I can display render tessellation, and then I can open up simple tessellation options and pull this to the right. Might turn this up a little bit more. Right, 7. Okay, so now if I render this, and maybe pull this up a little bit, render it out, and then I'll have a nice smooth plate shape, which is what I'm looking for. So there's the plate. This is the place 3D texture icon. We could leave the plate in the center, and then I'll open up this, and I have the fruits. I think I'll scale these fruits up and also multiply them. Control D to duplicate. Rotate one here. Control D, put in another one. Alright, take a banana, duplicate that. See, I'm just moving it, scale up here. Gotta fit it so it's looking right. Alright, so you have a fruit plate. Now if I render this, it's a decent start for the fruit. Now I want to make a floor though. So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and create NURBS primitives cube. And I want to zoom out here. I want to, well, here already makes it for you. Let me click on this. And I want to pick the side and delete it. Pick this other side and delete it. And then if I hit the up arrow, I can move the whole cube at once because the cube is just 6 actual sides. So I'm going to pull this up so it stays around here. And what I want to do is make the walls and the floor a little bit different. So we go back to Blend, and I'll make a wall out of this. So I'm going to go to Color, make it a file, and this one will be, it's got a concrete floor. So if I drag this middle mouse button onto here and here, that looks good. Now also, let me graph this network, and I want to show you a bump map. Now if I render this, by the way, we'll change this to mental ray. So this looks one way here, but if I drag the middle mouse button onto here and go to bump map, I can then render this again, and you will see a fundamental difference. Let me zoom in on that. You see this is without bump and this is with, so it adds more of a bump look to it. I'll make it 0.5. That'll be handy to use. Also, see how it's kind of reflective. If you want to reduce reflectivity on your apple and everything, click on the shader and pull reflectivity down, because otherwise it'll be all shiny. To give you an example, click on Maya Software. If it doesn't show up, you go to Window Settings Preferences Plugin Manager and look for alphabetical order Maya to MR. Wait for that thing to show up. I'll close that. Now if I go here, it'll have Mental Ray open. Let me render this. Alright, taking a little bit while. Let's do the ray tracing with Mental Ray, 30%. Alright, now let's put a wood floor. I'm going to click on Blend again, and I'll scroll up here, click on this, go to File, Map on here, and I'll go to Tileable Wood, pull that onto here. So that looks pretty groovy. Now, I also want to put in a light source. So what I can do is hold down spacebar, go to create lights, create lights, point light. Now I'm going to hit W, and I'll pull up here, and I'll hit 7, which will do some lighting on there. And you can see when you hit 7, it'll do a real-time toggle. Alright, let's take a look at that. Now with a light source, you have to open up shadows right here and click use depth map shadow, and that'll give, there's two types of shadows, depth map and ray trace. We'll use depth map for this. Now let me go back over to here, click spacebar, click on top of the menu. Let's give this a render. Wait for this thing to start rendering. Now it's going to have the shadows on there. See, there's a little bit of reflectivity going on. Alright, so that's coming up. Now we have some rough shadows. What you can do with that is go to render globals on here, which is there, and I'm going to pull the quality up. Click on quality. Wait for that thing to show up, kind of slow. If it ever shows up. And it appears to be stuck. Oh, there it goes. And the quality presets will make it a preview final gather. We'll render this out again. See how that comes out. This would help if I had a faster machine. Okay, if that's still not looking so sweet, let me stop the render by hitting escape and go back to the light. There's a directional. Let me turn that off. Point light. Let me pull up the resolution to 1024. And then I want to pull up the filter size to 5. Now if you want to render out just a chunk of the scene, you select this and then click on the red box. So you can render out just a chunk of your file. So you see it'll go faster this time. A little better. So let's pull up the shadow again. 2056. That'll be a decent number. And then I will render the whole thing. See how that's looking. Also, you can put while it's rendering, you can put a bump map on these. And the bump map would be good for an orange. So you see there's a bump map on the wall. And you could put a bump map on an orange. You could even put one on the plate if you wanted to. So right now you see there's some reflectivity going. The shadows, it may not happen like this on your machine, but it's okay for now. We can fix that later. So this is coming out. I have somewhat of a slow processor, so this is taking a while. But basically what you would want to do is click on this tool right here, and then you can change the resolution to HD 720. Again, here's shaders, here's the hypershade, here's the shader networks. You see you've done everything with texture maps, which is what I'm looking for. You can improve the banana texture. And make sure you know where render globals is. You can change this to HD 720, which will give you a 720 by 480 render. And then you would go to File, Save Image. And that will get you an image such as this here. We have a little reflection. You made some berries with the leaves on there. The plate looks good. So here comes general plate here. And if you get this far, you are doing pretty well. Let's wait for this thing to finish. And that obviously is taking too long. So I will pretty much cut everything here, hit escape, and make sure you got this. Go to the render globals and go to common, scroll all the way down, and make sure the presets say HD 720. Then when you render this, you can go to File, Save Image, and save it as a JPEG instead of Maya IFF. That's the default Maya format. Save it as a JPEG. Then you'll be good to go and on your way to making tasty, savory fruit. See you later.